welcome back to the Andrew and Ian Show. I'm Andrew Surwick here again with Ian. Hi, Ian. We just wrapped up watching the Mets and the Brewers play, and the Brewers once again proving that they're a fraudulent division winner because they play in the easiest division in baseball right now. Anyways, Ian, how you doing this evening, man?
I can't complain, playoff baseball, wild card round's done. So, a lot of excitement going around in sports and regular season hockey's just around the corner, man.
Yeah, we're October's sports nirvana. You got football season in mid swing, the NHL starts, playoff baseball, NBA starts. It's sports nirvana, man. Like it really, really is. But yeah, you mentioned the NHL regular season starts next week, and before we get into anything tonight, did you notice that there's a regular season game? It's the opening night for Florida, and there's also a preseason game that same night.
Is there really? I did not look at the schedule that far ahead.
Yeah,
That's actually really funny.
yeah. There's a preseason game along with the NHL regular season opening night on the same night. It's I don't know what the NHL's thinking, but okay. I don't get it, but anyways, obviously we're gonna get into football, but first we're gonna get into baseball because we kind of led off with that. Um, let's start right here. The Mets beat the Brewers in 3 games tonight. The only series that went 3 games in the wild card series. I figured the Mets would win. The Brewers are, very fraudulent. They play in one of the worst, if not the worst, division in baseball. The Mets kind of really out of nowhere between last year and this year. They really fell off last year, which no one expected. And then they come back this year. They're a lot better. But a good series win here for the Mets. The other NL series, the Padres swept the Braves in 2. Padres, they look phenomenal. They have been almost as hot as the Tigers have been since August. Not nearly as hot, but they're like easily the second hottest team in baseball. And I expect that to continue in their series with the Dodgers. Because we know that's the most respectful series in these playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. These NL matchups have been pretty fun so far. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, the only one series went to 3 games, but Mets coming off of that one, and like I said the other episode, we see a double-headed snake of playing the doubleheader, the game right before the playoffs. You have the Mets who just won their series going into 3 games, which is now more fatigue on them. But on the other hand, you have the Braves who just got swept by San Diego, and obviously, like you said, San Diego has been one of the hottest teams in baseball, and I think they have been the hottest team in baseball since the All-Star break. Because I think at the All-Star break they were 50-50, just to put things into perspective. So this Padres team is no joke right now. They are on a ridiculous tear, just like the Tigers. They're nothing to just put. They're not pushovers whatsoever. And they're putting balls into the stands at a ridiculous rate this postseason already. In 2 games, I think they've hit 4 or 5 home runs already.
Yeah, something like that. Pete Alonso's hit a couple bombs, I believe, in these 3 games. He's ready for October. So yeah, we got the Phillies and the Mets, and then yeah, the Dodgers and the Padres here. I do like the Phillies though to win that series against the Mets. Although the Mets, I mean, I think they'll put up a good fight. I see that series going all 5 games. To be honest with you, Padres Dodgers. I mean, I'd like to see the Padres win it. The Dodgers are really good though, but the Dodgers do like to choke in the playoffs. So give me the Padres to take this one in 5 as well.
I'm gonna take the Phillies in 4. I like the Mets. I really like their energy right now. So I think they're going to be able to take at least one of these games from this Phillies team. But the Mets, like I said, they played that doubleheader right before the playoffs. Their series was the only series that went to 3 games. Fatigue is going to kick in for them. And they're playing a team that just came off a bye, and the Phillies are arguably one of the best teams in baseball this year. And we all know what October Bryce Harper can do. And so if I'm the Mets, I'm not wanting to face October Bryce Harper. I don't want to face October Bryce Harper even more after a full 3-game series. So give me the Phillies in 4. And then Padres Dodgers, I'm taking the Padres in 4. We're going to see the Dodgers go down in a classic choke yet again.
Over to the AL, we had the Royals sweep the Orioles in 2 games, obviously. The run differential, +2 to the Royals. The Royals winning 1-0 in the first game and then 2-1 in the second game. That was a big surprise to me, honestly. I had the Orioles coming out of that series, but ultimately, the Orioles just couldn't hit at all. And then the Tigers, talk of the league, sweeping the Astros in that series. And the Tigers, they almost choked both games away in the ninth inning. But they ended up winning. Andy Ibanez had, who hadn't hit a ball since August, mind you, hit a 3-run double off of Hader, which you don't see that, especially from a guy who literally cannot hit the fucking ball. It's voodoo magic in Detroit. Whatever the fuck they're doing in Detroit, it's working. It's voodoo, though. Like, you can't deny it. So that sets up, you got the Royals and the Yankees, and then you have the Guardians taking on the Tigers. The Yankees, the only non-AL Central team left in the playoffs. This is it's an interesting series for sure. I am going to take the Yankees to win this one, probably in 4, maybe even 3. The Yankees are so good. That is a stacked roster, and October Garrett Cole, we know how good he is. As for the Tigers and the Guardians, I'm taking the Tigers to take that one in 4 as well. It's magic. The Guardians are kind of like us, but they've kind of been middling around for the last month and a half now. So, give me the Tigers in 4. Playoff baseball's back in Detroit. It's magic. So both these series, I should say. I think going in 4. I don't see a full 5 games out of either of these series.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Royals-Yankees series, and I'm like, yikes. This is going to be a real bad series for Kansas City if they cannot figure anything out offensively, right? Like, we all know Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and what they're capable of doing out there in New York. And don't get me wrong, Kansas City, out of any of these teams right now, I think I would be most comfortable with at least 2 of their starting pitchers compared to the rest of the league. Because the 1-2 punch of Cole Ragans and Seth Lugo out there in Kansas City, absolutely ridiculous. And I think I mentioned it the last time, either it was before we did the episode, even on the episode. They're right up there with Tarek Skubal as some of the top pitchers, not just in the AL, but in the league. And it's ridiculous that they're both on the same team. So, again, I was terrified if I'm an Orioles fan, because you had to play them in a 2-game or a 3-game series. You played both of them, and you lost both of those games. Granted, the Royals scored a total of 3 runs in those games. So you're not winning games scoring 1 and 2 runs against the Yankees. That's how you lose games against the Yankees. You have to score more runs if you're the Royals. Give me the Yankees in 3. The Royals offense is not going to figure it out. Bobby Witt Jr. might be good for a run or 2 here and there. You're not winning games against the Yankees like that. And then for the Tigers and the Guardians, this is one of the few series where I'm like, this is going to go all the way. These are good old comfortable AL Central rivals. This is going to be a good old-fashioned series, and I'm going to love every minute of it, win or loss. But I think this will go 5, and I really want to see the Tigers clinch it at Cleveland. Keep winning series on other teams' turfs. Makes it that much sweeter.
No, I don't see this series going 5 between the Tigers and Guardians. I really don't. I don't see how Unless the Tigers are unable to steal one on the road in the first two games, there's no way this series goes five. There's no way this series goes five if they don't steal one at home. I do not think Cleveland is winning a single game in Comerica Park. It's going to be too distracting, I think, for those players because that city, Detroit, is starved for playoff baseball, and now they're finally getting it on the most magical run ever. It's going to be impossible for Cleveland to win in Detroit. I don't see it going five games if Detroit does not get one on the road, and I think they will absolutely get at least one of those first two games.
It's highly possible, but I just feel it in my gut. This one's going five.
I don't see it, man. I really, really don't. Like Detroit will have to lose both those first two games in Cleveland for it to go five. I just do not see how that's possible. But yeah, so that is your divisional series for the MLB playoffs. Obviously, once those series are complete, we will preview the AL and NL Championship Series games and go from there. So anyways, let's get right into it with the NFL. Start previewing that. So right now we got the Falcons and the Bucks in Atlanta. Right now the Bucks are up 24-17 as we enter as we're halfway through the third already, so never mind on that. Anyways, Atlanta favored by 2.5 in this one. I was gonna take the Bucks no matter what. So far, I'm looking good on that. They just have a much better offense. That's really what it comes down to. Although the Falcons have been pretty productive so far this year. Obviously, I believe Vita Vea is still out, which is not ideal. But that means Bijan can eat, but Bijan hasn't eaten at all this year. So yeah, give me the Bucks to win that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is, about as good as a rebound as you can get for Tampa Bay, considering, the loss a few weeks ago. But, it's a divisional game. This could go either way. Originally, I was taking Atlanta in this one because they were so close against Kansas City, right? I mean, they were right there. And, again, controversial call away from beating Kansas City. And then they go in, and then they beat the Saints last week. So, again, they beat a team that was very good or is performing very well to that point. And now they're in another divisional game. And the NFC South teams love to tear themselves apart and just absolutely ruin the wild card because of that, because of how weak they are and how more often than not their division winner is still sub 500. But yeah, like I said, I would have taken the Falcons in this one, but it's not looking too good.
No, and I think this year the division winner won't be under 500 or near 500. I just think Tampa Bay and Atlanta are both too good for that. And again, these two teams I think are the top pick for the NFC South. And I mean it's looking like a great game so far. It's been a great game so far, but yeah. The Vikings will host the Jets in London, 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. I ain't gonna be watching that game. Fuck no. I'll be too hungover to be bothered to watch that one. I'll just have to watch the highlights. But anyways, Minnesota favored by only 2.5 here. Look, Sam Darnold has been looking good this year. A large part of that is obviously Justin Jefferson, who can just catch anything thrown remotely his way. And the Vikings defense really, really good this year. The Jets struggled against the Broncos to score. Now, yes, weather definitely did play a factor in that, but really the Jets offense hasn't been all too productive overall this year. So give me the Vikings to win. Give me them to cover that 2.5, no problem. I'd say probably the Vikings by 10.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, who really saw the Vikings here, right? I mean, obviously last year they were pretty similar off, right? With Kirk Cousins or before the Kirk Cousins injury, and then after the Kirk Cousins injury, things kind of got derailed. But right now they're looking like one of the best teams in the NFC North right now, and it's kind of scary to say that considering, you know, everyone thought Sam Darnold was a legitimate downgrade from Kirk Cousins, but an offense with Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson can make everyone look good. And I guess you know Sam Darnold did find his home, kind of like Baker did in Tampa. But yeah, I am also going to take the Vikings here. I hate to say it. I really want them to lose this game. I really want to see a vintage Aaron Rodgers performance where he just absolutely torches Minnesota and just, continues to live in Vikings fans' nightmares. But I don't see it happening. That Vikings defense is sneaky good. They look like on paper they should not be good, but they are performing like they are one of the best units in the league. So give me the Vikings and an easy cover.
Yeah, I think you said it best. We'd love to see Aaron Rodgers give Vikings fans another nightmare, despite not being in Green Bay anymore. But Sam Darnold, it's not an upgrade from Kirk Cousins, but it's not the downgrade we expected. It's just a lateral movement, and it's just I don't know what the fuck happened here, but if this is what they can do with Sam Darnold, imagine now what they can do with JJ McCarthy next year. God fucking damn it, Minnesota's gonna be good next year. The Bears host the Panthers. The Bears a 4-point favorite in this one. Look, the Bears have not been inspiring. Caleb Williams definitely has not been inspiring. 3 touchdowns to his 4 interceptions this year, 787 yards. He has not looked good. We had Andy Dalton step in, first game stepping in for Bryce Young, who got benched, and he lit up for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. He looked really, really solid in that game. The Panthers obviously struggled last week, but, it is what it is there. The Bears' defense is really, really good. This is going to be a low-scoring affair, I think. Weather's supposed to be good, though, so that's a plus. But you know what? Give me Carolina to sneak in to Chicago and get a win out of here.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm also going to take Carolina, but they will not cover. I think, like you said, this is going to be a very close game. This is with Chicago's defense, again, is carrying them very hard right now. Like I mentioned at one of the episodes, that Caleb Williams right now is still not on pace for 4,000 yards this season. And that's the almighty number Bears fans are looking for, right? Still looking for that first 4,000 yards passer, right? And I mean, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore are more than capable of getting you to that number, right? As they're very legitimate receivers in the NFL, and Chicago's made the right moves. It's just not seeming together on offense yet. Like you said, he's thrown 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. So again, he's a rookie. You don't expect him to be able to just, gun out 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and, 10 picks. But I expect a little more from, the first overall pick and someone who is touted as, one of the best quarterback picks in recent history. So, especially someone who likes to run his mouth like that. But, regardless, at the end of the day, I'm still taking Carolina to win.
Yeah, well, it would probably help if he focused more on football than painting his nails too. I mean, that might kind of be a factor there for him. But yeah, like you said, the Bears defense has been carrying them. It's not really been the offense. The only reason why they have 2 wins is because of the defense. So yeah, give me Carolina. They're not. This is gonna be a low scoring game, but give me Carolina to just sneak in, get a win. And, yeah. Bengals host the Ravens. The Ravens, just a 2.5-point favorite in this one. And that's honestly kind of surprising given the performances that we've seen from both these teams this year. Now, we know the Ravens started off 0-2. Bengals started off 0-3. But I think the Ravens are just an overall better team right now. They're a lot more gelled than the Bengals. The Bengals seem to be kind of lost in outer space right now, especially with Jamar Chase, trying to figure out his whole situation. Baltimore's defense is a lot better than Cincinnati's. Um, this is going to be a close one. I think Baltimore does win. They do cover that 2.5, but not by a whole lot. I can see Cincinnati winning this game, though, but if they do, again, it won't be by a lot. I think this is going to go a field goal either way, but give me the Ravens to win and cover.
Yeah, I am with you on taking the Ravens to win and cover. I think as of late, I am more confident with how the Ravens have been recovering and bouncing back from their, you know, disappointing start to the season. I mean, Derrick Henry has been a monster as of late, and that's what they paid him for, right? That's something that they wanted to do. They wanted to have someone who can run the ball. That's not Lamar Jackson, so he can become, that elite passer that everyone wants him to be, or everyone jokes about him not being, right? Oh, he's RB1, blah, 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 blah. This could be one of those games, for either of these teams where you look back at the end of the season and it's like, that's the moment. That's the moment where we really turned our season around, and that's where we made our push to the playoffs. Granted, week 5, talking playoffs is literal early. You got 12 weeks at this point. You got to start thinking, ahead, and thinking this is a divisional matchup as well. You want to win this regardless of who you are. But give me the Ravens to win and cover. You got Justin Tucker right there, and he's good for, a damn near record-setting field goal at, as the time expires, pretty much any time, anywhere.
Yeah, Justin Tucker. Yeah, I I think that's how it would go down too. Is last-second field goal for the Ravens to win it. The Patriots host the Dolphins. The Patriots actually favored in this one, surprisingly. A 1-point favorite in this one. Look, I'm obviously not high on New England. I don't think really anyone is. I mean, they have been very bad. Jacoby Brissett, 536 yards through 4 games so far, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He's at least taking care of the ball, but he's just not efficient with it. New England can't move the ball, but Miami without Tua cannot move the ball. You have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you still can't move the ball at all. I am going to take Miami in this one only because Miami can't move the ball because they have a backup quarterback in. The Patriots can't move the ball with all their starters in, okay? This is going to be a very low-scoring affair. But yeah, give me Miami to win this one. It's gonna be a messy game.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one, and I don't really think I can just realistically see a winner here. I think this might be the first tie of the NFL season. This is just a toilet bowl of a game, and like you said, Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots offense cannot move the ball whatsoever. And now you have backup quarterback in. Yes, you have Tyreek Hill. But, I mean, look what happened this last game for the Dolphins. It was not a good look whatsoever. I mean, you lost to the Titans. You scored 12 points against the Titans, who were 0-3 up to that point. And you got to think, with Tua, the Dolphins' only win this season was against Jacksonville, 20-17. So they barely beat Jacksonville with Tua. I think this game is going to be a tie, ultimately.
I could see this game ending in a tie because it's just going to be a shit show of teams not able to move the ball. And the Patriots' defense isn't bad. Neither's the Dolphins' defense isn't good, but they aren't bad either. They're just kind of just meh. And both these offenses are just so shit now. It's just like, yeah. Imagine this, like, just no one scores the entire game. I could see that being possible in this game, just because of the way it is. But no, I mean, both these defenses aren't elite, so I think there's going to be some scoring, just very, very little. The Commanders host the Browns. The Commanders, a 3-point favorite in this one. And I can tell you for a fact, when the schedule was released back in like July, this game, the Browns were actually favored by like 5 or 6 in this one. And now it's Washington -3, which is insane because no one expected the Commanders to be this good and the Browns to be this shit. Look, Jaden Daniels, he's the best rookie quarterback by far in his class. He's got 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. He's just shy of 900 yards through 4 games. Really, really good. He's got a lot of touchdowns on the ground as well. Robinson Jr. has been really, really good. 66 carries, 307 yards, and 3 touchdowns through 4 games for him. Really, really good job. The Browns, Deshaun Watson sucks, and so give me Washington to win. Give me Washington to cover that 3. I cannot trust this Browns offense to put up heavy numbers, and the Commanders will boat race you. We've seen it already. They are really, really good offensively, and the defense has been fairly good. Not really, really good, but they've been better than they were expected to be. The Browns defense is not that good. I think the Commanders can win this one by 10 plus.
Yeah, I mean, this is, weird to say, but I have to feel like this is an easy win for the Commanders. Like you said, Deshaun Watson is just absolute garbage, and Jaden Daniels right now is, in my opinion, the best rookie quarterback in the league. I mean, 3 passing touchdowns. I believe he has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. So that's 7 total touchdowns already. How many other rookie quarterbacks have that? And he also only has 1 interception. I know for a fact, outside of rookie quarterbacks who are not actively playing, he's the only one that has, 1 interception. Balling his ass off over there in Washington. And this is who they wanted at, number 2. So give me the Commanders, and they cover.
Yeah, I think the Commanders cover very easily in this one. I really, really like them in that matchup. The Jaguars host the Colts. The Jaguars are favored, oddly enough. They're favored by 3. I don't know why, because Trevor Lawrence has not performed that well, although he has only thrown 1 pick this year. But Joe Flacco's starting for the Colts. Although the Colts are pretty riddled with injuries, so I guess that kind of makes sense, especially on that defensive front for the Colts. I did forget about that. So, look, I just, Joe Flacco, we know what he can do with that Colts offense. We saw it last week. He looked really, really good when he stepped in for pretty much the whole game. And yeah, so I don't know. I get that the Colts are all beat up, but Jacksonville's not any good and not 3-point favorite. Give me the Colts to win, man.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Flacco starting. Obviously, that's a veteran quarterback. The Jaguars are not playing well right now. I mean, they're 0-4. It's a very, very bad, I can't think of the word right now. Oh my God, I just blanked out. Morale feel right now. It's just, I feel like it's a really shitty feeling coming out of that locker room. You have, what people have been constantly calling a quote unquote generational talent at quarterback, which I don't agree with. His stats are comparable to Daniel Jones. That's not a generational talent, but highly touted quarterback, and they're not performing whatsoever. And granted, the Colts have not been playing great, but Joe Flacco proved with the Browns that he can take a halfway competent team to the playoffs. So I mean, if the Colts are a halfway competent team, he can at least win, and definitely capable of beating an 0-4 Jacksonville team to knock them down to 0-5. So give me the Colts.
The Texans host the Bills. The Bills, a 1-point favorite in this one. Look, the last 2 weeks, the Texans' offense has struggled. They only put up 24 against Jacksonville. They only put up 7 against Minnesota. And look, Minnesota's defense is a lot better than Jacksonville's, but still only 24 against Jacksonville. Not ideal. They struggled a little bit against the Colts. They did win that game. But look, the Bills last week did not look good either. But that said, I like the Bills in this one. I think the Bills just overall they have a better team. I mean, the way the Texans offense has struggled this year, it's not looking good. Um, and I think this Bills defense will do a pretty good job of shutting down that Texans offense because again, you put up only 24 on the Jaguars last week, and you would expect a lot more against that Jacksonville defense. So give me the Bills to win here. Obviously they cover because it's just a 1 point favorite. Just give me the Bills. They probably win it by a score. Not a high scoring game, but not a low scoring game either in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The Texans' offense has not been what it's been, talked up to be, right? I'm sitting there and I was like, I had that inkling, once I saw Stephon Diggs went there, like this could happen, right? And now here we are. Their highest scoring game right now, they scored 29 points, and they still only won that game by 2 points. You know, so and they beat the Col- that was when they beat the Colts week 1. They beat Chicago in the next week by 6 points, and they only scored 19 points. They lost to Minnesota 34-7. They only scored 7 points. Like you said, 24 points against the Jaguars. Something's going on. I don't want to say it, Stephon Diggs, but things happen when he's around. And there's a lot of things that say he's, not the greatest guy in the locker room, but, maybe he's screwing up the rhythm that they had down there in Houston, with Tank Dell and Nico Collins. Maybe just a little bit, just enough to throw him off. But at this rate, they're still sitting at 3-1. I do think the Bills win this game, and obviously with a 1 point favorite to them, they cover regardless. But yeah, C.J. Stroud has been, serviceable. 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks to date. But I mean, it's not a good look when you have to throw a walk-off touchdown pass against the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially when they're 0-3, now 0-4.
Yeah, it's not a good look. That offense just doesn't look good, and the defense hasn't been too spectacular this year either. Um, Obviously, 34 giving up 34 points to Minnesota. I mean, you don't necessarily expect it with Sam Darnold, but at this point, you kind of have to. But yeah, the Bills I think are just a slightly better team. But maybe the Texans will surprise us. The Broncos host the Raiders. The Broncos a 2.5 point favorite in this one, and I am going to take the Broncos to win this one. I think the Broncos just overall do have a better team offensively and defensively. Bo Nix is starting to look a little bit settled in. He still doesn't look 100% ready for the NFL level, but he's slowly starting to get there. You've seen the progression through the first 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks he did not look good, but he looked better from week 2 compared to week 1. Week 3 he looked a lot better. Last week, obviously, with the rain in New York, it was tough, but they got a gritty win there. I expect him to look a little bit more comfortable now this week. Gardner Minshew, also, he throws a lot of interceptions. I expect the Broncos defense to probably get one off of him. Yeah, I don't trust that Raiders offense. The defense I can. I just don't trust that Raiders offense enough to beat the Broncos here.
Yeah, and I mean, Devontae Adams requested a trade, so I don't believe he's going to be playing this game. I still believe Max Crosby will not be playing this game for the Raiders either. So yeah, I will also be taking Denver, and they cover. They've been playing pretty decent ball as of late. I mean, they upset the Bucks pretty damn bad, 26-7 at Tampa, and then they travel to New York the next week and beat the Jets. With Aaron Rodgers no less. You know, yeah, well, you can give them, the excuse of the weather all you want, but we know this Broncos offense isn't good. But you held Aaron Rodgers and him and his veteran presence and the offense that he has around him, players like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, just 9 points, 3 field goals total. Like that, I don't think they had field goals, but no, I lied. They did have 3 field goals. I thought they scored a touchdown, but no, they did not. 3 field goals. That's it. You're telling me Aaron Rodgers can't throw a touchdown pass against the Broncos defense
To be
in
fair,
whatever weather?
there was a lot of rain. I will admit There
The
was a
man
lot of
plays
rain.
in Lambeau.
I mean,
He
you're
plays
not
in the
wrong. You're
cold. He's
not
played in the
wrong. You're
snow.
not
He's
wrong.
he's thrown touchdown passes and broken hearts in the cold and the snow. Man, the rain is nothing to him. That's just an excuse for a poor loss.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The Niners host the Cardinals. The Niners a 7.5 point favorite in this one. Still, obviously, no Christian McCaffrey with his double tendonitis in his Achilles. Look, the Cardinals started off the year pretty strong the first 2 weeks. Yes, they did lose week 1, but they looked strong in that game against Buffalo. And then it looked really, really good in week 2, and then they've lost every game since. The Niners, they finally got Debo back. They're back on track a little bit. They are 2-2 on the year, but I think having Debo definitely helps the Niners out. I mean, it certainly did last week. Just another weapon for Brock Purdy to throw to. I like the Niners in this one, obviously. Give me the Niners to win. Give me the Niners to cover that 7.5. I think, the defense will do a good enough job to shut down the Cardinals' offense. And, again, the Niners' offense looked alive last week when they finally had some other weapon besides George Kittle out there. So give me the Niners to win and cover them.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, the Niners got one of their major pieces back on offense. Debo Samuel. Obviously, we all know Brock Purdy and the 49ers are barely capable of winning football games without Debo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey both. But now if you have one of them, the game is at least serviceable and now is more swayed in your favor. Now, don't get me wrong. Jordan Mason has been phenomenal in the backfield for the 49ers in McCaffrey's absence. It's just without, McCaffrey and Debo, the inconsistent from Brock Purdy is enough to lose games for the Niners. He's got Debo back. He's got a trusted target. I think he win. I think the Niners win this one. I don't think they cover. I think this is a game where Arizona's offense kind of finds that rhythm back, and they'll attempt to boat race the Niners, but they just won't be able to keep up.
Interesting take there. The Rams host the Packers. The Packers a 3-point favorite in this one. Look, the Packers last week tried to come back from behind against Minnesota. Almost happened, but they didn't. The Rams are still beat up as fuck, though. This is game, I think Jordan Love, last week, obviously coming back from his injury, he was a little shaky, but I think he'll be okay this week. Get himself back into a rhythm here. I like the Packers, though. I mean, like I said, the Rams are still beat up as fuck. They're easily, top 5 for most beat up teams in the league right now. Maybe even the most beat up team right now. So give me the Packers to win. Give me the Packers to cover that 3. I just think, we can see maybe a somewhat decent performance out of Stafford, but I think ultimately the Packers, like I said, Jordan Love, I think we can see him get back to himself because he was not himself last week. But I think we'll see him get back to himself this week and help this Green Bay Packers team get a win here.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The Packers were just short of a win last week against Minnesota and being the first team to knock them off. But I do think, against this beat up Rams team, Jordan Love he's gonna have a good comeback game. He's not gonna. I hope he doesn't throw 3 picks because if you come back off injury and you throw 3 picks in back-to-back games, that's an issue, especially against this depleted Rams team. I mean, obviously on the defensive end, they're not really as tore up as offensively, but again, this is still like you said, a very beat up Rams team, and the Packers offense is one that can get on you and get out of hand very quickly. I mean, you have deep threats like Jaden Reed, excuse me, Michigan State wideout. Now he has his, former starting quarterback now back off injury. He can get him some balls. We know Jordan Love can just sling that thing. Jaden Reed's going to get his openings. Dontavian Wicks is also really good there for the Packers. So give me the Packers to win and easily cover this game. The only concern I do have for the Packers is that run game. Is Josh Jacobs actually gonna, have a breakout game?
That is a very good point there. The Seahawks host the Giants. The Seahawks a 6.5 point favorite. Um, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Daniel Jones should be flipping burgers at Burger King and not on an NFL football field. Give me Seahawks to win and cover. It doesn't matter. The Seahawks finally played a good team in the Lions. They go back to playing a shitty ass team. Yeah, the Giants suck. They don't have a defense. They don't have an offense. And the Seahawks have a somewhat decent defense. And Geno Smith isn't necessarily good, but hell of a lot better than Daniel Jones. Expect him to throw a pick, but it's not going to matter because the Seahawks are just ultimately a way better team on both sides of the ball. Give me the Seahawks to win and cover, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Daniel Jones should be flipping burgers somewhere at the closest fast food chain. It, I mean, even with a receiver the caliber of Malik Neighbors, he is just not looking good. It's rough for Giants fans. I mean, and they gave him that massive extension. It's just you're banging your head against the wall, and you're hoping you get a concussion so you can just forget everything. If you're a Giants fan, honestly, Seattle, you're getting back in the win column, and you're easily covering this one. Their offense. Kenneth Walker is a straight dog. We saw what he did at Michigan State. Literally, throwing himself in the Heisman competition up until that Ohio State game where he was just non-existent. And now that's translated pretty heavily over to the NFL, and he's been a stud out there for Seattle ever since, they haven't really had a steady running back since Marshawn Lynch. So that's a really good piece out there for them, and I think he's going to have a big game. Looking for him to have at least 3 touchdowns like he did in Detroit.
Yeah, no, Kenneth Walker's slowly turning himself into one of the best running backs in the league. I wouldn't say the best, but he's definitely getting up there as a top 5 running back for sure. Steelers host the Cowboys. The Steelers a 2.5 point favorite in this one. Tough loss on the road to Indianapolis last week for the Steelers. A game where they should have won that game, especially because Anthony Richardson went down. Jonathan Taylor actually did a pretty good job against you, considering how good your run defense was up until that point. The Cowboys can't run the ball, and that's a problem. Dak is, he's Dak. He's good, but he's just not, clutch. But I like the Steelers in this one. I part of me wants to take the Cowboys because I feel like the Cowboys will be able to light up the Steelers in the air, but it's so tough to pick this game, honestly, for Sunday Night Football. I'm gonna roll with the Cowboys to win here, although I can very, very easily see the Steelers winning this game, but I just think that the Cowboys' air attack is going to do just enough to overwhelm that Steelers secondary, and that's how they're going to win. That said, I can see this getting out of hand for the Cowboys really quick if the Steelers are able to shut down. But at the same time, the Steelers' offense sucks. Like, it sucks. So, and the Cowboys' defense, they're good enough to stop a really bad offense. So I'm gonna lean towards the Cowboys now that I think about the defense or the offense of the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, this is another really rough game, because the Cowboys have been very disappointing this year. We've seen as of late. The Steelers, like you said, disappointing loss coming off. Their offense is atrocious. They're looking like the Iowa of the NFL right now. Can't score 20 points to save their life, but they're still winning games somehow. I do think the Cowboys win this one, and they do cover. Because, again, I'm not confident in the Steelers' offense whatsoever. I mean, CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, we know that, those two have a legitimate connection and are capable of the big plays. And, the Steelers' defense has been playing really, really well. But I just think, I think the Cowboys are going to do just enough, and it's a night game. It isn't Pittsburgh, but I think Dallas walks away with the win.
And then lastly, Monday Night Football, we got the Chiefs hosting the Saints. The Chiefs a 5.5 point favorite in this one. Um, you know how I am with the 5 point favorites. Give me the Saints to win this one. Look, the Chiefs are literally 3 bad calls and a 1 inch of toe away from being 0-4 this year. That's how not good the Chiefs season has been. I mean, Mahomes hasn't even cracked 1,000 yards this year. And he has 6 touchdowns to his 5 interceptions. Now, we know the Saints started off really, really hot. I mean, they were the best offense in football for the first 2 weeks. They've slowed down a little bit. The defense isn't necessarily there. But I feel like the Saints feel like they can win their division. And I think they can. I mean, it's obviously the Saints, Falcons, and Bucks. And then, obviously, there's fucking Carolina way down at the bottom. And the Saints, I think, realistically could win that division. It's going to be tough with Tampa Bay. But like I said, I think the Chiefs' defense isn't really that good this year either. They've struggled a bit. And again, their offensive woes have really been highlighted this year. Obviously, Xavier Worthy has been really, really good for them. Travis Kelce finally had a decent game last week, but I don't think we're going to see a repeat performance from him again like that, at least not for a while. I really just like the Saints to win this one. It is the Devil's number at 5.5. Give me the Saints to win, man.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to agree with you here, Kansas City is going to find a way to win this game, controversial or not. I'd love to see, the Saints go into Arrowhead and knock off the Chiefs and, again, be the team to hand them that first loss of the season. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs are the far more experienced team. And I think they will find a way to get the win. I do not think they cover because they have not been playing well as of late, and the Chiefs' offense is one that they can score points. We all know the Chiefs or the Saints can put up points, right? The Chiefs, they just lost Rasheed Rice, so now you're relying on Juju Smith-Schuster and Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy, we know he can be a deep threat for Patrick Mahomes, and we know Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball like pretty much no other. So you have at least one reliable source for the deep threat. You have Travis Kelce, who's been, uncharacteristically quiet pretty much the whole season. But like I said, I'm taking Kansas City to win, but not cover.
Yeah, I think no matter what, we're going to see a close game. But losing Rasheed Rice for the Chiefs, too, I forgot about that. That's a huge loss for the Chiefs offense. That takes away a weapon from Mahomes. And now you're really going to have to ask Travis Kelce to step up because he hasn't been that good. And obviously we know what Xavier Worthy is. But that's a huge, huge loss for the Chiefs. And I just think the Saints can pull off the victory. It's in Arrowhead, so it is a tough place to play in. But I really think not the Chiefs, but the Saints can do that. So that's going to be it for the NFL. We're going to move on over here to the college football side of things. We're going to kind of go through these a little bit quicker just because we've kind of been lacking a little bit in terms of speed tonight. So anyways, we got number 6 Oregon hosting Michigan State. Oregon a 23.5-point favorite in this one. We're going to see Oregon finally play some real Big Ten football. Obviously, they played UCLA last week, and that's not Big Ten football. I'm sorry. It's just fucking not. Michigan State looked okay last week against Ohio State. I think Oregon's a lot worse of a team than Ohio State here. I think Oregon still wins. I don't think they cover, though. Dylan Gabriel has been good. And, again, I highlighted this in last Thursday's episode with the Ohio State game with Michigan State. If Aiden Childs can just calm down, he can be a really, really good quarterback. Again, he is 18. He's got lots of time left to develop, but he just needs to calm down, and I think that's going to slowly start to happen for him. That said, though, I think Oregon does win this. I don't think they cover that 23.5, but they do win by multiple scores.
Yeah, I mean, this is a matchup that I've been waiting for since the good old days of Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota, back when these two teams were ranked and would go head to head almost every year. And more often than not, Michigan State would lose those matchups, but boy, were they fun to watch. And it wasn't a major rivalry, but it was enough of one there to love watching the games. And now they're both in the Big Ten. It's a really good feeling for me as a Sparty fan. Like I know they're probably gonna lose this game, and I have Oregon winning this one, but not covering. I just like seeing Oregon playing Michigan State again. It feels good. It's weird that it's a Big Ten game. It's just a good feeling for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, for sure. Um, it's going to be a nice matchup. Again, I used to like watching those Michigan State Oregon games with Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota. Great, great memories watching those. Here's a team that I didn't realize was ranked. Number 25, UNLV hosts Syracuse. Look, I don't know a whole lot about UNLV because I was not expecting them at all to be ranked this year, like at all. But they're 4-0 and they're ranked. They're a 6.5 point favorite here over Syracuse. Kyle McCord is Syracuse's quarterback. Look, Syracuse has actually played pretty well this year. They're 3-1 right now. But Kyle McCord is going to Kyle McCord. I don't know much about UNLV this year. I know a lot more about Syracuse. So, but UNLV's at home. They're a 6.5 point favorite. They're undefeated. Yeah, why not? Give me UNLV to win and cover that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I know about UNLV is when I went out and visited an old friend of mine who lives out in Vegas, and we actually went to a UNLV game. I think they ended up winning that game, but at the end of the day, it wasn't anything like this 4-0 team. They weren't. I think they had 4 wins overall the entire season that year, but they're ranked right now. They're playing at home. Kyle McCord, on the other hand, for Syracuse, is having a hell of a season. I mean, through 4 games, he has 14 touchdowns and almost 1,500 yards. If this was the Kyle McCord Ohio State had, boy, would he be playing for Syracuse right now, or would he still be playing for Ohio State? But yeah, give me UNLV to win, but they don't cover.
Number 7, Penn State hosts UCLA. More West Coast Big Ten. I fucking hate that these teams are in the Big Ten. I really do. The regionality of college football's gone. Penn State, a 28-point favorite in this one. Penn State, really, really good this year. Drew Aller has looked really, really good. He's been very efficient with the ball. He's only thrown 1 pick. And Penn State has the best 1-2 punch running back duos right now with, well, not just in the Big Ten, but probably in the country. I like Penn State in this one, obviously. UCLA sucks. Give me Penn State to win and cover that 28.
Yeah, it's not much to say on this one. Give me Penn State to win, and they're scoring the over by themselves.
Number 24, Texas A&M hosts number 9, Missouri. Texas A&M, a 2.5 point favorite in this one. Look, Missouri's struggled the last 2 weeks, and they've just not looked at all what they did in the first 2 weeks. Texas A&M sucks, though. It's a tough place to play, though, especially against an SEC opponent, or if you are an SEC opponent. I don't like Texas A&M, though. I think they're fraudulent, but Missouri just hasn't had my trust the last 2 weeks. But I do like Missouri to win this one, so give me Missouri to get the upset win here over Texas A&M.
Yeah, I disagree. I'm going to go with Texas A&M here. I think they win this one. Like you said, College Station, one of the hardest places to play in college football, and Missouri has not been playing, good football as of late. I mean, you barely beat Vanderbilt. It took 2 overtimes to beat Vanderbilt. That's not good. You can't have that if you want to be one of the top dogs in the SEC. Especially now, you have Texas moved over. They're competing for the SEC or the top of the SEC right now, and Georgia already lost this year. So the top of the other side of that SEC is right there. You pretty much have Texas and Alabama, and you're fighting for the scraps after that. I don't think Missouri wins this one at the end of the day. This is going to be a loss on their schedule where they're like, we probably should have won this one. And like I said, been saying, the committee only cares about wins and losses, but this is where Missouri stumbles and loses their first one.
I can see this very easily getting out of hand for Missouri, and they just get shat on by Texas A&M. But I can't trust Texas A&M at all in a ranked matchup. I just can't. Number 22, Louisville hosts SMU. I don't like the fact that SMU is in the ACC. It's just not right because, Texas and the ACC. Okay, whatever. Anyways, Louisville, a 6.5-point favorite in this one. They lost to Notre Dame last week, but I think Louisville still a really, really good team. But I think Notre Dame kind of exposed a lot of their weaknesses last week, and they definitely did. But I'm not too high on SMU so far this year. They've looked pretty good. Give me Louisville to win this one, but they don't cover.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. They really look like Notre Dame found something against Louisville that they were able to exploit and expose. Because I mean, I had confidence that Louisville could win that game. Like I did not expect Notre Dame to put up points like they did, and ultimately Louisville lost that one. But here they are with the chance for an odd in conference matchup, and it's against a team with one loss. So just like Louisville, they have one. SMU has one more win than Louisville, but at the end of the day, I think Louisville wins this one, but they don't cover. I think this one comes down to a field goal.
Number 3, Ohio State hosts Iowa. Ohio State, 18.5-point favorite in this one. Iowa hasn't won in Columbus since the 90s, and I don't think that's going to change. I like Ohio State in this one. Now, I don't think Ohio State covers. I think, well, this is for sure the best defense that Ohio State has faced all year. Iowa's defense is really good. Iowa's offense, on the other hand, okay. It's better than last year, but they can score touchdowns finally, or they can score more than 10 points, but it's still not good. I think Ohio State's offense is going to struggle against Iowa's defense. The total's set at 45.5, so that already tells you that they don't think that Ohio State's going to really run away with this like they did against, Michigan State and Marshall and the shitty MAC schools that they've played, including Michigan State. Sorry, I had to take a shot at them. But yeah, give me Ohio State to win. They do not come close to covering that 18.5, though. I think Iowa's defense will keep them in the game, but ultimately their offense is just not going to be able to score enough points against Ohio State's defense to do anything. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the way I look at this game for Ohio State is this is finally a legitimate test for them before they go into the game at Oregon. They're 4-0, but like you said, they beat up on nobody schools. They whooped 2 MAC schools to start, and Marshall and Michigan State to follow. So that's 4 really, really soft teams to start the schedule. And now you have, a very, very tough defense in Iowa. Like you said, the offense is complete dog shit and is lucky to scrape together, 21 points. But at the end of the day, this Iowa defense is damn near NFL ready. And they are capable of not only, preventing offenses from scoring, they're capable of turning this ball over, knowing full well that they're not going to get any points out of it. But they could still make some hell in Ohio, in Columbus. I don't think they win. I don't think Ohio State covers. I think this is going to be between a field goal and a 7-point game at the end of the day, and Iowa's just going to miss out because they can't, score 21 or more points.
I think the very most we'll see Ohio State win by 2 touchdowns at the very, very most. I just don't see that 18.5, man. Number 5, Georgia hosts Auburn. Georgia a 22-point favorite in this one. Obviously, a tough loss to Alabama last week. It was a good game, but they put themselves in a hole very, very early, and they had to rally in the fourth quarter. And when you go down to anyone by a lot in that first half, like Georgia did, it's hard to come back from. Auburn, though, they also blew the game against Oklahoma last week, and Peyton Thorne's always good for at least one interception each game. So give me Georgia to win. Give me Georgia to cover. I do like this Auburn team in general. I think they'd be a lot better if they had a quarterback that threw more touchdowns instead of interceptions. So until then, give me Georgia to win and cover that 22.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. And Peyton Thorne left Michigan State for a reason, right? A lot of turnovers at a lot of untimely times. And you just can't have that. And ultimately, that is what lost them the game against Oklahoma. You could have had a ranked upset on your schedule and been 3-2 instead of 2-3, and 1-1 instead of 0-2 in the SEC. Now here you are with the potential to lose back-to-back games against very hefty, SEC opponents right now. I mean, Oklahoma's been playing pretty decent ball so far, but Georgia's a different animal. They just lost to Alabama. They're out for blood. This is going to be a really bad game for Auburn. Give me Georgia, and they're going to cover.
South Carolina hosts number 12 Ole Miss. Ole Miss a 9-point favorite in this one. South Carolina has actually been pretty surprising this year. I don't think we had them as 3-1 through 4 games when we did the schedule game with them. Look, Ole Miss, terrible loss last week. Terrible loss to Kentucky last week. Although I think part of that is just we've been sleeping on Kentucky. Jackson Dart's going to be wanting to rebound after this game. I think Ole Miss's offense is a lot better than South Carolina's. Defense, though, I probably favor South Carolina at this point because Ole Miss's defense is not good. Ole Miss wins by boat racing people, and they weren't able to do that against Kentucky, obviously. Give me Ole Miss to win. They do not cover that 9 points, though.
Yeah, it's funny that, Kentucky had to be the team that upset Ole Miss last week, right? Because who did South Carolina play in week 2 of their schedule? None other than Kentucky. And they went to Kentucky, and what did they do? They won 31-6. That's right. South Carolina beat Kentucky 31-6. And Kentucky lost to Georgia 13-12. And they just upset Ole Miss. Give me South Carolina to get an upset win here. We've been sleeping on them. They were a controversial call away from upsetting LSU and sitting at 4-0 on this season. I think this is their revenge game. Give me South Carolina to win.
Interesting take. I like that, man. Ballsy. Northwestern hosts number 23 Indiana. Indiana shouldn't be ranked. I'm just saying they've played. The teams that they played have a combined record of 9-14. Why are they ranked? They have not beaten any good team. IU's favored by 14 in this one. Look, IU's played very, very well against very shitty opponents. Northwestern's a shitty opponent. I expect Indiana to win this one and cover that 14, no problem, because that's all Indiana can do is beat shitty teams. And yeah, they should not be ranked.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana has played one 500 or better team this whole season. Then they beat them, and it was only Maryland. But Maryland also lost to Michigan State, so take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, Northwestern is not a good team, but Indiana, 5-0. They're ranked. It's kind of a joke, but I think they go to 6-0 just because it's like not a good Northwestern team at all. And Indiana is right now 5-0 against not very good teams or bad teams. So give me Indiana to win, but I don't know if they cover that 14.
Yeah, I just can't wait till like everyone shuts up about Indiana and they finish the season like 7-5 this year because they're gonna lose to every good team that they play on their schedule. Vanderbilt hosts number one Alabama. Bama a 22.5 point favorite in this one. Huge win by Bama last week over Georgia, and obviously they earned that number one spot single handedly. I mean they absolutely deserve it. Kalen DeBoer has proven that he can play, that he could coach SEC ball. Now, the defense did collapse especially in that fourth quarter against Georgia, and that's a little bit concerning. Vanderbilt played a decent game last week against Missouri, forced Missouri into overtime, two overtimes. Vanderbilt might be a little bit better than anyone than we expected. They're still ass. Give me Bama to win. Give me Bama to cover. I think Vanderbilt's going to be in this game for the first quarter, and then after that, it's just going to be all Bama.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Bama with arguably one of the biggest wins of this season. And we already saw Texas go into the big house and, beat the brakes off of them. But Alabama just beat Georgia. Like, that's a top five, top three matchup, pretty much, depending on who you are and where your biases lie. But I believe it was a top five or top four matchup, regardless. And Alabama won it. Now, we could see Georgia and Alabama meet up in the SEC championship game later on. But with Texas in the mix now, that could change. So things are right now for Alabama. They're looking really good. And Vanderbilt, like you said, put Mizzou on the ropes, double overtime to eventually lose that game. But Alabama's a different beast than Missouri at the end of the day. So give me Bama to win and cover.
Florida State hosts number 15 Clemson. Clemson a 14.5 point favorite in this one. Florida State's been nothing but disappointing this year. They are 1-3 in ACC play this year. They just can't get anything going. DJU more interceptions than touchdowns thrown this year. Clemson's got a really nice running back in Maffa. I think he's very underrated this year. And yeah, I like Clemson in this one. Florida State has been nothing short of disappointing this year. Give me Florida State, or not Florida State, give me Clemson to win and cover that 14.5.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Disappointing doesn't even begin to start to describe Florida State. I mean, they're 1-4. They started off, ranked as one of the best teams in the country, and we pretty much knew it from week 1, or week 0 rather, when they lost to Georgia Tech in Dublin. Like, this was not going to be a good season for them. They have one win. It's against Cal, and it's the only loss Cal has right now. But at the end of the day, Cal isn't a good team, and neither is Florida State. Give me Clemson to win and cover.
Number 21 Boise State hosts Utah State. Boise State a 27.5 point favorite in this one. Look, Boise State, much better offense all around. They have the best running back in the country by far. Utah State sucks. Give me Boise State to win. Give me Boise State to cover that 27, man. I mean, again, you have the best running back in the country. You have the best quarterback in your conference. I don't see how Boise State loses this game.
Yeah, I mean, barring just like an absolute meltdown on all fronts by Boise State. I mean, they hung in there with Oregon in the second game of the season and barely lost that game by 3 points. So, you got to consider, as a group of 5 school, hanging it in there with a Power 5 school who is ranked in the top 5 at the time. That's a hell of a performance. And they're, like you said, Ashton Genty, best running back in the country. by far. Absolute fucking video game stats right now. 13 touchdowns in 4 games. Are you serious? Bro's playing on rookie mode right now. Give me Boise State to win and cover.
Arkansas hosts number 4 Tennessee. Tennessee just a 13.5 point favorite in this one. And honestly, I'm not surprised by that spread. Arkansas has been pretty good this year. They have fought very, very well against SEC opponents, and they look pretty damn good in general. Tennessee, best offense in college football, like by a mile. Their defense has been a little questionable, especially considering the offenses that they've played against. It's like, can I really trust you against a real offense? Now, I'm not saying Arkansas has a real offense, but they're pretty damn good offense, and their defense is good to match. I think Tennessee wins and covers this one, but they're not going to cover a whole lot more than that 13.5. I think Arkansas will at least stay within 3 scores of Tennessee in this game. I just think we've kind of slept on Arkansas this year a little bit. But that said, I think Tennessee just still a great, great team this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. We kind of have been sleeping on some of these, normally mid-tier SEC teams like Kentucky, South Carolina, and Arkansas. Their losses are very good. I mean, Arkansas's 2 losses are week 2 at Oklahoma State, 39-31. So you get a couple defensive stops in that one, and you win that one. They lost to Texas A&M last week. It's a ranked loss. So both of these are ranked losses. You only lost by 4 points to Texas A&M. That's a very good loss. And again, the SEC is the hardest conference to play in. So you're going to have these losses. And I mean, Oklahoma State's not an SEC team. They're a Big 12 team, but they are one of the premier teams of the Big 12. They are a Power 5 opponent. So it's going to be a hefty match regardless. And Arkansas has been pretty competent to date, but Tennessee is, like you said, they might just be the best offense in the country, and they just beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma by 10 points. They want to put another high-scoring, performance up on the record. Give me Tennessee to win and cover.
Washington hosts number 10 Michigan, your national championship rematch this year. Both these teams, though, lost a lot to not only the portal, but mostly the NFL this year. Both these teams are basically shells of their former selves compared to last season. I mean, Michigan has no quarterback. Washington has a quarterback, but they don't have a running back. And Michigan's run game hasn't been all too good. The offensive line from Michigan has been shit. Washington here is a 1.5 point favorite here. I'm gonna take Washington to win this game, and it pains me to say that as a Michigan fan. I just think the Michigan offense can't fucking do anything, even against dog shit defenses that they've played against. Washington's defense is not that good, but I think the only thing that's going to keep this game at least somewhat within reach for Michigan is the defense. I think Michigan's defense is still, one of the best in the league. I mean, statistically they are, but the offense is a problem. Orgy can't throw it down the field. Davis Warren he's not the starter anymore, and he just throws pick after pick. It's a tough situation for Michigan offensively. I think the only way Michigan would win this game is multiple interceptions, and Will Rogers hasn't even thrown a single interception this year. So that's the way Michigan's going to have to win this game, is the defense scores some points, and I just don't see that happening because Will Rogers does a really good job of protecting the ball. So give me Washington to win, give me Washington to cover. Low-scoring game, Washington probably wins it by a field goal, maybe a touchdown.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm taking Michigan to win. Rutgers did exactly what Michigan normally does to win games this year. And Rutgers just beat Washington last week by 3 points. How many total yards do you think they passed for in this game?
I don't know. I think it was like 50 or 60 something yards.
Rutgers had their quarterback had 115 yards passing and one touchdown. Their running back had 132 yards on the ground and then one touchdown. They had 299 total yards of offense against Washington. Washington had 521 total yards of offense and lost that game by 3 points. Michigan is a different beast than Rutgers. Give me Michigan to win.
I just, I don't know, man. Michigan's offense just sucks. I just cannot see how Michigan's going to score a lot against this is the best defense that Michigan has faced this year outside of Texas and USC. And even then, they can't fucking score, man. It's frustrating to watch Michigan football right now. I don't see how Michigan wins this game. I really, really don't. Minnesota hosts number 11 USC. USC a 8.5-point favorite in this one. Look, we saw what Michigan did against Minnesota. Minnesota looked lost out there, especially in the first half. They almost came back, and I don't know, man. I think USC is just so much better than Michigan. I think USC dismantles Minnesota this week. Give me USC to win. They way more than cover that 8.5. I think USC's offense is a hell of a lot better than Michigan. Minnesota's defense is very, very bad. No way that USC only wins by 8.5. No way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Give me USC to win, and they're gonna win big. They might score the over themselves. Miller Moss is actually a competent quarterback, and they barely lost that game against Michigan. Like, Michigan's defense is the reason they won that game. And, right now, USC, they have a ranked win against LSU week 1. We know LSU isn't, the team we thought they would be. But again, they've played now 2 games of Big Ten ball. They know how they can compete with the Big Ten. Like I said, they almost beat the reigning Big Ten champ in Ann Arbor. They lost by 3 points. And then they just beat Wisconsin 38-21. They were losing that game pretty handily. So they came back and won. So USC is a very capable team. And right now they're showing me they can compete in the Big Ten. And it's weird to say that, as a West Coast team that they can compete in the Big Ten, but with Miller Moss, you can compete damn near anywhere.
Yeah, they just got to learn how to run the ball and and play Big Ten football. And I think, they'll be a pretty good Big Ten team. But until Lincoln Riley decides to play bully ball like the rest of the Big Ten, yeah. Number 16, Iowa State hosts Baylor. Iowa State a 12.5-point favorite in this one. Look, Iowa State's been very, very impressive this year, especially offensively. Defensively, they've looked pretty solid. Baylor sucks. They have been very miserable this year. But they've had some good games in the Big 12, but just not good enough to win them. I think Iowa State wins here. I think they cover as well. I really like them, and they're at home too. And Baylor on the road this year has not been good. So give me Iowa State to win and cover.
Yeah, anytime I see Iowa or Iowa State favored by double digits, I'm like, that's got to be a trap. Both of these offenses aren't really great, but at the end of the day, Iowa State is a much better team than Baylor, and I think Iowa State will win, and they will, ironically cover because that team can play right now, and they're scoring points. They only scored 20 points, funnily enough, against Iowa, so it's just fitting that Iowa lost because they literally could not score 20 points. And now Iowa State's sitting here 4-0. They just pitched a shutout against Houston. Now, Houston's not the greatest team, but again, neither is Baylor. So I don't think they're going to shut out Baylor, but give me Iowa State to win and cover.
And then lastly, and this is super fucking weird because this is the first year it's ever going to happen, we're going to have ACC football be late night game, the after dark game. Cal hosts number 8 Miami, and it's so cringe because Cal is not on the Atlantic Coast in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I don't like this. I really fucking don't. But Cal hosts number 8 Miami. Miami just a 10-point favorite in this one. Cal has actually been very surprisingly good this year. They're 3-1 on the year. Now, that one loss is against an ACC opponent, but Cal has been pretty good this year. Now, they've played not great opponents. Again, they're 0-1 against ACC teams, but they've looked a little bit more complete this year. And obviously, Miami almost losing to Virginia Tech last week, and they really should have. That was absolutely a catch, but we're past that now. It is what it is. Cam Ward's still the best quarterback in college football right now. Just phenomenal performance from him. Miami's offense is good. Their defense, not so much, but I think Miami will just do what they always do and just put 50 on you and call it a day. So give me Miami to win. Give me Miami to cover on ACC After Dark. So fun. So weird.
Yeah, who would have ever thought that ACC After Dark would have been a thing? But here we are. It's a weird feeling, but like you said, Cam Ward, one of, if not the best quarterback in college football right now this year. Just absolute phenomenal, like Heisman-worthy performance. I mean, other than Jackson Dart, who I think has him on yards and has thrown less picks, he's pretty much the clear-cut Heisman right now, or at least the favorite. It's crazy what they're doing, and Cam Ward is putting Miami in a position where, outside of that Virginia Tech game, where Mario Cristobal can't, shoot themselves in the foot with a 12 gauge and completely derail everything. Now, like you said, Cal is playing pretty well. They're 3-1. But that loss to that ACC team is Florida State, like I mentioned earlier. And losing to Florida State in the way that they did, they scored 9 points against Florida State. They lost that game 14-9. That is not a very good loss by any means. And we know Miami is a much more complete and a far more lethal offense than Florida State. Cal is going to lose this game, and Miami is going to cover, and they might run away with this one and score the over.
They might be able to put up that 53.5 themselves. That's for sure. And yeah, it's just so cringy to have ACC After Dark. I hate it. This conference realignment has ruined college football, but TV rules the world now. So yeah. So anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for us today. Tuesday, we'll obviously go over everything over the weekend, and we'll kind of get you also set for the NHL opening night on Tuesday night as well. So with that said, guys, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you guys want to see more of course. Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it at the Andrew N. Ian Show. That's Andrew N. Ian Show. Keep sharing the podcast, guys. Check out our YouTube page, of course. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.